Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Country music star Tracy Byrd performs live at the Great Frederick Fair in Frederick, Maryland this Friday night. He joined me to discuss his biggest hits, including Watermelon Crawl, Keeper of the Stars, Don't Take Her, She's All I've Got, I'm From the Country, 10 Rounds with Jose Cuervo, and Drinkin' Bone.
Hey, Jason, how are you?
Hey, Tracy Byrd. Thanks for joining us on WTOP in DC.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. You kidding me? This is an honor. We're talking because you're coming to the Great Frederick Fair in Frederick, Maryland on Friday, September 22nd. It's about, 45 minutes, hour north of DC, actually my hometown. So we're fired up to see you, man.
All right. Great.
Yeah. You're performing with Jody Messina. We just interviewed her last week, and I think she was saying that this is sort of like a one-off. Like she's doing her Heads Carolina Tales California tour, but this is like separate. Like you two aren't touring together, right? Like where does this fall for you in your whole tour situation?
The same thing. We've done, I guess we've done 3 shows together this year, and we did all 3 or 4 together last year. It's not a set deal, but it's worked out well to book us together for us to do shows together. And of course, Jody's about the coolest gal I know, so I love working with her.
Oh, yeah. And between the two of you, man, you've had so many hits, we've lost count and have to start counting again.
That's pretty clever there. Yes, sir. Yeah, we both had great careers. And I mean, she's on another roll now after the Cole Swindell song and everything like that. So she's really doing great.
I know. Yeah. We're sitting there talking with our nieces, and they know the Cole Swindell, and we're like, actually, go back and listen to the Jody. It's based on another song. Can you believe it? I'm waiting for the Watermelon Crawl remix by Cole Swindell, But
that's funny because he played my hometown in Beaumont not long ago. And of course, I was on the road. I didn't get to see the show, but they said he in the middle of his show he did Watermelon Crawl. So.
Of course. Well, it's kind of cool. And we were talking to Jody about this too, but it's the same with your music. Like everything old is new again. I think because she was saying she thinks, because of streaming, like there's no such thing as like, this is an old album or a new album. Like it'll just come on Pandora or Spotify right after some new song. So kids don't know the difference. They're like, oh, that's a good song.
Yeah, I think I haven't really thought of it that way, but I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. They hear it even when they didn't intend to hear it.
Well, are you kidding me? With your great songs, everybody should seek them out. We should all intend to hear them. Well, you mentioned your hometown of Beaumont, Texas. Like, tell me kids these days love their superhero origin stories. Tell me your origin story. What'd you grow up listening to? Like, I want to know like your country idols, that kind of thing when you were a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up listening to Merle Haggard and George Jones. Of course, George Jones is from my hometown, so grew up listening to George and then George Strait came along, and when I was, I guess, just about to go into high school, and I really fell in love with his music and kind of tried to mirror him for a long time. So those guys were my heroes, and still are. I love traditional country music and steel guitar and fiddle, and that's kind of what I enjoyed doing, what I was meant to do, I believe.
I'm with you, man. There's something about that steel guitar and no throwing shade on any current artist. There's some great songs out there today, but there's something about that classic sound. I'm 100% with you. It just doesn't, that's country to me, But when you grow up in George Jones's hometown, you can't help but, fall in love with that style of music,
Yeah, I mean, that's, there's nobody countryer than Jones.
Exactly. Well, you've done pretty damn well for yourself. So I to remind our listeners, and I'm sure it's a long involved story of paying your dues. And I think you had like a local band with was it Mark Chestnut in it for a bit or something?
Well, I took over playing when Mark headed out on the road. I took over playing with his band when he went to record his first album, and I left the band I was with and kind of just played with his band as a guest at his house gig here in Beaumont. And then once they headed out on the road, I put my band back together and I took the house gig that Mark had for several years, and then I got signed to MCA right behind Mark. So we kind of ended up on the same record label too.
Oh, that's so awesome. I'm gonna do there's, like I said, there's so many hits we've lost count and have to count again. So I'm gonna try to jump. I'm gonna try to hit some of them. There's no way we can hit them all, but remind our listeners some of the jams they're gonna hear at the Frederick Fair here. So obviously, that first self-titled album on MCA, like you mentioned, in Tracy Byrd in '93, your first number one hit, "Holdin' Heaven." I'm sure folks will hear that. But tell me, let's jump
Yes.
ahead a minute. Tell me about the second album, "No Ordinary Man." We got "Lifestyle of the Not So Rich and Famous," so many good ones. But tell me about "Watermelon Crawl." Like, why is that? And gosh, we just lost Jimmy Buffett. He talk about blowing out flip flops and margaritas, but you sort of do a different drinking song, a "Watermelon Crawl." It's about responsible drinking, right? You got to get home safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, that song, of course, I have "Keeper of the Stars." It was a song of the year, and in '95, and a huge song. But and people would assume that's my biggest hit, but it's not. It's not. "Watermelon Crawl" is hands down the most popular song that I've got with the fans. I mean, it's the one they start screaming for when the show starts, and they don't stop screaming until I do it. And it's just been a crazy song. I guess when I cut it, I really, didn't think that it would be as big and as lasting as it has been, but it has been. It's been an amazing ride with that song, and I probably wouldn't be where I'm at without it.
Absolutely. I know it was around the time of like Boot Scoot and Boogie and all that. Was there like an official line dance to the Watermelon Crawl? Like, is there a way to actually do a Watermelon Crawl?
Oh yeah, that it won Line Dance of the Year that year. They actually had line dance awards in Nashville. Line dancing had gotten so big that they had their own awards show in Nashville every year back then in the '90s, and
awesome.
And yeah, I won Line Dance of the Year, but I can't do it. I'm no dancer.
And it's different whether it's seedless watermelon or with the seeds in. You might stagger a little differently depending how spiked that watermelon is. But I love that. Well, by the way, I'm glad that you mentioned before we move off that album, I'm glad you mentioned "Keeper of the Stars." Like, yeah, one song of the year at the ACMs. But it was written by Dickie Lee, who my wife actually, when she was like a teenager, recorded one of Dickie Lee's songs, and she sung his praises so highly. But that song's almost like the original "God Bless the Broken Road." You know what I mean? Like, it was in the stars, and God, it was no accident me finding.
Yeah, Dickie. Yeah, it's interesting. Dickie was a great Hall of Fame songwriter, and a great guy on top of that. Just a wonderful guy to be around. But and he has ties to Beaumont here too. Jack Clement and Bill Hall, people have to Google and look them up, but they were the original power guys in the publishing business and the production business, and Bill was from Beaumont, and he built a studio here in downtown Beaumont, and Dickie actually recorded his hit "Patches" here in Beaumont at Bill's studio here, and so that's kind of a neat deal. Me and Dickie used to always talk about, but yeah, Dickie wrote "She Thinks I Still Care" for George Jones, which is a classic country song. And so at that age, even in the '90s there, he was still writing hits when he wrote "Keeper of the Stars" and with Karen Staley and Danny Mayo. But yeah, it was a pretty amazing ride for Dickie, and I was pretty lucky to get a hold of "Keeper of the Stars" because it was that kind of song, that kind of classic song that'll live on forever. Everybody hopes they have a one or two, and I'm lucky. I've had a few, so I really am thankful.
That's one of those great, like, everything happens for a reason romantic songs. You know what I mean?
It is, and yeah, and honestly never seen the wedding song thing coming. I mean, it ended up being and still is used all the time in weddings, people's weddings. So that's pretty awesome too. I had some early 20s, they were in their early 20s, come to a meet and greet last week and tell me that they had just got married and that they used "Keeper of the Stars" as their song. So, once again, even the young kids are, they heard it on Spotify without even intending to hear it, like you said.
Yeah, well, a good song's a good song, and I think that, and John Michael Montgomery's "I Can Love You Like That" were like 1 and 2 on the charts that year. Talk about wedding songs, baby, man. That's a good year for wedding songs.
Well, country music is really geared toward that. I mean, and that, for since the beginning of time, the love songs have pretty much ruled.
Oh yeah. Well, let's hit a few more. Man, I'm like, it's just like torture having to skip over a couple. I'm looking down the list because like I want to do love lessons and walking to Jerusalem, but we don't have time. So hey, let me jump ahead to Big Love and Don't Take Her, She's All I've Got. That one, we can't have this interview without that song. Why do you think that one connected so well?
Yeah. Well, that one is old. I was a big Johnny Paycheck fan. Used to do his songs in the clubs all the time, and I did. And if you go back to my first album, I had a top 20 hit on "Someone to Give My Love To," which was an old Johnny Paycheck song. And when I went in the studio, me and Tony Brown, my producer, and we had both of those songs with us on that first album. And we decided, well, let's do "Someone to Give My Love To." And he said, let's just remember to come back in a few albums and do "Don't Take Her, She's All I've Got." So we about 6 years later, we were sitting in the studio, and I said, "Hey, we never did cut 'Don't Take Her, She's All I've Got.'" And he goes, "Oh yeah." I said, because we had a little extra time in the studio, and we were trying to figure out something to cut. And so we threw that down, like really, I mean, one take kind of deal, and with the band, and it became a big hit for us all over again. And that's an interesting song too, in the fact that Bobby Blue Bland, I believe it was, had a blues hit on it in the either the 50s or early 60s, and then Johnny Paycheck came back and cut it in '76 and had a big hit record on it, which is the one that I listened to. And in the interim, David Allan Coe also cut it.
Oh my
gosh. And then I come back and cut it in '98 and have another hit on it. So they, old songs they don't go away. They don't get, they're still great songs even years later. So it's I've always looked at older music and remaking songs because a whole generation hasn't heard them until you maybe bring them back.
Yeah, and my generation knows your like you are that version of that song for us. You know what I mean? Like it's so cool that you put your stamp on it. Well, all right. The next album, I'm from the country and I like it that way. Why do you think? I mean, there's a lot of country songs that are, what was it? Alabama was, was born country. There's a ton of them. But like, why do you think those songs like that? Like, it's like highlighting not only this is the type of music we love, but it's almost like this is our way of life. You don't need an invitation. Everybody knows everybody. Like, is that the secret to those songs?
Yeah, I think certain songs have whether they're intended to be written that way or not, they have like an anthem quality to them,
Right.
And I believe that "I'm from the Country" is one of those anthem type songs that everyone who is truly from the country, that's how they feel. And that song, that was another song that we had on an earlier session and didn't cut, and we came back and cut it later on the later session for another album. And ended up being, of course, the title track to that album and a big hit record, and still is a huge. I mean, the crowd pretty much sings that one for me. I can kind of just turn the mic and let the crowd sing on that one. They sing every word.
Oh, well, they're going to know how to work and know how to play in Frederick, Maryland at the fair. So he will be singing along. All right, maybe time for like one more. All right, well, obviously It's About Time had Put Your Hand in Mine. That was big as well. But let's jump ahead and do, of course, the title track off of your 7th album, 10 Rounds. 10 Rounds with Jose Cuervo. Everyone knows that. And I guess that was your first number one back since Holden Heaven, since the beginning. So that song was huge. What do you want to say about that? I mean, it's a great drinking song, just like Watermelon Crawl.
Yeah, it's just one of those party songs that it's all about fun. It's all in jest. It's of course we're not encouraging people to try to drink 10 rounds with Cuervo because tequila will get you quick. And
or it'll make your clothes fall off, depending what song you're listening to.
That's right, depending on what song. Yeah, he'll do both. Yeah, but yeah, just one of those songs that once again, just a great sing-along, fun country party song that everybody tends to gravitate to. I mean, there's a lot of them that are written, but there's certain ones that are just a little better than others, and that's I was lucky to get hold of that one and have a big hit on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, between Garth doing 2 pina coladas and you're doing 10 rounds of hobo, you took what he did with the 2 pina coladas and multiplied it by 5.
That's right.
But folks, do the watermelon crawl home. Drink safely, no matter how many rounds you go. All right. Well, do we have time to talk Drinking Bone? That's another one.
Well, sure.
Forgot. Of course. All right. So the 8th album, Truth About Men.
Same writers as 10 Rounds with Jose Cuervo. My buddy Casey Beathard. He wrote 10 Rounds with Jose Cuervo, and we're getting ready to do the other record, and they literally wrote it that morning. They sat down, and him and Kerry Kurt Phillips, and said, let's write a song for Byrd's album. He's about to cut. And they sat down and wrote Drinking Bone in like 20 minutes, and and literally recorded it on a cassette player and ran it over to us at the office. We were literally listening to songs and getting ready to cut, and they ran it over there and said, you got to hear this. And I said, oh, that's in. I'm cutting it now, so. And of course it ended up, it's kind of almost like a nursery rhyme, kind of singing, and it was pretty easy to hear that one would be a instant hit.
Right, exactly. It's like a nursery rhyme that, in preschool we would sing the head bone's connected to the neck bone or whatever. And
exactly.
You spruce it up for a night out on the town.
Exactly.
All right. Well, you've been so generous with your time. Everyone, bring your drinking bone and your dancing shoes. Come on out to the Great Frederick Fair.
We'll have a heck of a show for you.
Yeah, it's this Friday, I think. So yeah, September 22nd, Friday at the Great Frederick.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Tracy Byrd, thank you so much. This was so much fun, and keep doing your brand of Beaumont, Texas country music. I love it. Keep it coming.
Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate you talking to me. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.